Welcome back everyone to another video of World of Warship Legends, and today we're taking a look at the new Tier 6 alternative American Battleship North Carolina. I've had the opportunity to play about 30 to 40 games in this, get a good feel of how it can operate and the damage that it can do. In the background here we have a game of domination on Tears of the Desert, and let's dig right into the build. Starting off with my commander, I am running Sims with this with inspirations of Cunningham and A.L. Scharnhorst. Sims has that base trait of built to last. Slot 1 I'm going with flammable cannoneer. 2 I'm going with crisscross and marksmanship, reaching out XXL just to get that extra range on the main guns. And then finally a legendary skill of will to rebuild. Now if you want to take a look at this build a little bit closer, I've included a link down below into my wowsbuilds.com profile. You can take a look at that, and if you have any questions, let me know. On the actual ship modules, I'm running AA guns mod. So one little thing about the American battleships, they typically don't have the aiming systems mod 1, so that takes a little bit of the accuracy away. So go with the AA guns because we're seeing a lot more carriers in games, and have really boosted up. We'll talk about the AA stats on this thing in a second here. Slot 2, we're going with Propulsion Mod 2. I want this thing to get off to a fast start and be able to hit the brakes a little bit faster. And then finally, the only selection you have for Slot 3 is Target Acquisition Module 1. So, what does this ship actually have to offer? We have 3 turrets with 3 guns of 406 millimeters. If that sounds familiar, that's exactly what the Iowa runs. So, big guns for the tier. The range of these guns, 17.5 kilometers, reload time of 32 seconds. The HE has a max damage of 5,700 hit points with a 36% fire chance, and the AP has a max damage of 13,100. So these guns hit, and they hit hard. With my build, I start with hit points of 59,920. The armor does give you a 19% torp reduction. And now the AA rating I was talking about. The AA rating on this ship is 99, so absolutely phenomenal. And when you get up tiered, you're going to be thankful that you have that, because you're going to see pretty quickly that these new German carriers can absolutely wreak havoc on tier 6 battleships. Max speed 27 knots, turning radius 760 meters, and then rudder shift has a little bit to be desired there, 18.2 seconds. So that's the actual stats on the ship, and as you can see here, we had got into a good little fight early on with that fellow North Carolina, making sure to stay decently well angled to him to mitigate damage. That is one thing, the armor on this thing, 25 millimeter bow armor. You can take a look here at the armor viewer. Getting a look around. It has good side armor. However, that bow armor can be overmatched, so when you're getting up tier, just be aware of that. You can get hit straight through the nose fairly easy, especially by fellow American battleships, Russian and Japanese. So getting into the game now, we've had a decent run on this side. You can see the blue team went hard to the A side, the red team went hard to the C side. And the blue team that did go to the seaside failed to realize it, probably got a little too aggressive, and were sent back to port early on in the match. Now, at the same time, the red team's only lost their fellow North Carolina. And so now I want to get into the central part of the map to be able to deal as much damage as possible to as many targets as possible. So you see here, I'm going to go ahead and just slowly work my way in. I don't want to get too far ahead of the rest of the blue team. When that happens, I'm more liable to be focused down, lose a lot of health in a hurry. So I'm okay just slow playing it back into the middle. As long as we still have B, we see that the enemy isn't trying to take it. We know that one of the destroyers on the enemy team is out to the west. That's the Eagle. We don't know where the Fubuki is. But as long as B continues to remain on the blue team, we can have at least a little bit of confidence that we're going to be okay and safe from torpedoes. One note on this build, so this is 100% my accuracy build. You can see on my consumables, I did have the secondary gun booster as my consumable. I've now switched that over to a spotter plane. Prior to this game, I was trying secondary builds just to see what they looked like. They're not viable. I'll just go ahead and say stay away from secondary builds on this ship. It's going to be a waste of resources, and it's really going to be missing out on the strengths of this ship, which is the main guns. One thing I have figured out is I got to be a lot more intentional about the direction that I'm going. Since the rudder shift was coming in at nearly 20 seconds, it's really hard to make quick turns in this. So here you can see I'm just going to continue, keep my bow pointed at the 3 or 4 battleships that are left on their team, and use this island to kind of protect me and slowly pick the targets I want to shoot at one at a time, as well as protect myself from incoming shells. At this point, the biggest threat to my ship is that Fubuki, or even the Surrey over here if it had long enough range torpedoes. The torpedoes are the key. Here I was not too aware there was my other friendly battleship coming in behind me. I thought I would be safe to go ahead and back up. But right here I get spotted, and I'm wondering, okay, who could it be? And then I see the torpedoes come right in. So the Fubuki did a good job coming around the island. I needed to be a little bit more aware there of where my other friendly battleships were. If I would have known that they were right behind me, I probably wouldn't have backed up, knowing that they would be a target. But fortunately, that 19% damage reduction on the torpedoes absolutely was huge. At this point, we just want to go ahead, finish off the Surrey. So we have the back gun loaded. We're going to have the front guns reloaded here in a second. But I go ahead, hold off on shooting them until I see what those back guns do. You can see that is absolutely devastating. All 3 shells hitting, 1 penetration, 1 overpin, and 1 citadel hit. So that's the kind of accuracy that you can expect from this. Now we see the Ismail popping up here, and this ship is very well equipped to handle these Russian battleships. The Russian battleships are extremely easy to citadel when they're broadside. So right here, I'm not even going to worry about getting the back turret on target. I just want to go ahead, keep my bow decently angled to all these ships, because I can bounce all the shells that are out right here without worrying about taking huge damage numbers incoming to my citadel. So once again, only using the front 2 guns, and this is the accuracy we're looking for. Hitting all 6 shells again, 3 penetrations, 1 overpin, and 2 citadel hits. So absolutely phenomenal. This ship is doing what it needs to. And right about now, I think the enemy battleships are starting to take a little bit of notice and realize that they might need to address me as a little bit of a threat now. We do know the Fubuki's right there behind the island, so we can't go rushing in. I've only shot AP this game, and it's going to stay that way throughout the entire match. Unfortunately, I never was in a great position to rush the Fubuki. If I had a little bit more time, I probably would have tried to get up against a little closer to the island, keep them RGA spotted. But that wasn't the case, and it didn't quite work out that well. You can see I'm starting to catch shells from a lot of different directions, so I want to go ahead and continue to back up. So that prop mod is coming in handy right now. That's why I'm going forward, going backward quite a lot. Kind of making unpredictable movements is what I'm trying to do. At this point, I'm fairly well insulated from all the ships, but then I didn't realize the Byron was pushing in here. So I did get the back gun on target, but those German guns can absolutely punch hard. And right there you saw a 9,500 point hit. So I'm going to go ahead, kick it back into forward, because I want to angle back up and make it harder for them to get my citadel again. And at this point, I'm just trying to decide which target to shoot at. If I'm able to keep that back gun aimed at the Florida while also angling up against the Byron, that's the optimal choice. That's going to allow me to get the most damage output while mitigating the incoming damage. That's ultimately what I ended up doing. And unfortunately, it's not going to work well. There's simply too many of the enemy ships, as you can see here. Fortunately, Our T-61, despite dying, they were able to get some torpedoes on the Byron, and we were able to finish them off. You see, we're up over 150,000 damage now, so still a very strong game. Not guaranteed loss at this point. We do have a small window if we're able to get around. But if you look at the mini-map, you can see that Tennessee had started to sneak around the island. I didn't realize that at this point in the game, and I ended up realizing it a little too late. He's ultimately going to be the demise of my ship in my game. But at this point, I want to go ahead. I want to get on B. I want to stop the enemy's point accrual on that cap. And now what I want to do is I want to juke out the Fubuki. I want to make it a lot harder for them to predict how I'm going to come around the island. Thanks to our friendly destroyer, they finished off that Florida, so I'm not spotted right now. This would be a lot better situation if I had HE loaded. Unfortunately, I did not. But I was slowly creeping around the island at about half speed. Then as soon as I got spotted, I went ahead and kicked it in full speed. And that's where that prop mod comes in handy. Unfortunately, at this point, I had to choose either to eat torpedoes or go broadside to the Tennessee. And unfortunately, the Tennessee does finish me off. Overall, I think this is a fun ship. It's the only ship out of the new American Alternative line that I'm actually excited for and enjoy. I'm curious to hear what you all have to say. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of this ship? What do you think of the new line? If this is your first time coming to the channel, consider hitting subscribe. We'll have a lot more videos coming at you shortly. Have a great day.